Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and on this week of the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves, we have some updates on some old classics, some cool new stuff, and the most expensive Opinel I've ever held. Let's check them out. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. We're going to start off this week with, I'm going to go ahead and call it Bargain of the Week. It is not necessarily a cheap knife, but it is a pretty attainable price. And honestly, the performance to price ratio here is off the charts. Artisan Cutlery is the brand, Revel is the knife, and Ray Laconico is the designer. The price is $89.99, and for that, you've got an S90V blade paired with an FRN handle. So S90V at this price range, fantastic. The amount of edge retention here is simply phenomenal, and they've achieved that by going with the quote-unquote cheap handles on this knife. Injection molding is a way to produce handles very economically, and this is like classic Spyderco move right here, going with the FRN for the handles to keep that price down, pairing it with the super steel up front. So you're paying for a cheap car, but you've got an awesome engine in it. It's not to say this car is like cheap and it's going to fall apart on you, but get the analogy?
I was going to say SRT Neon, but that wouldn't have helped our case.
Yeah, that would have fallen apart too. That's too bad. Awesome performance here for the money, man. Just truly. And the handle, the cool thing about FRN is you can get nice contoured shapes really economically too. If they were going for like cheap way to do G10 would be just a simple flat slab. That's less good in the hand. This is very good in the hand. Plenty of length for even my slightly larger than average hands. There's even a little bit of extra space up front if I wanted to choke up a little bit more. The clip point blade here, over 3.5 inches. So it's not just a dinky S90V blade at this price. That's full-sized knifeage right here. Mid-height flat grind, stone-washed finish, so it looks good longer. Once you start using it and scratches show up, they tend to blend in. We've got a reversible deep carry pocket clip, lefty and righty friendly, even though the deep button lock is, of course, right-hand biased. Very easy to use with either hand. You got that finger-safe closing action, keeping your fingers, your digits safe. Nice action with the button lock on the open as well. Lots of great stuff here. Ceramic ball bearings in the pivot, lanyard attachment point. I mean, come on. S90V for 90 bucks with an awesome design. Done. Bargain of the week. Hands down. And now for the most expensive Opinel you've probably ever seen. Going from something very attainable to something decidedly less so, for most probably. $380. For an Opinel, you're saying? Yes, this is the number 10 Shiori edition. And the blade itself, handmade in Japan from VG7 core steel right here. Hammered finish, kind of that brute de forge look almost. It is a laminated steel. The core is VG7, which is pretty new to the market. It came out in like 2 or 3 years ago. And it's sort of described as, VG10, classic stainless knife steel, kind of sitting at the top of the traditional stainless range before you start getting into powder metallurgy. VG7 supposedly increases or improves on the edge retention of VG10 without losing the toughness that it has. That's a pretty neat trick overall. And it's a pretty neat blade overall here. Unlike any Opinel I've ever held in terms of the blade, the handle, however, is classic Opinel feel. We've got curly maple for the handles. We've got black finish on the Viro block ring there. I mean, it's still an Opinel number 10. It's just wicked awesome, as they say up in the Great White North. And as they say in France, we'll go with that. Wicked awesome.
Méchant génial.
My French wasn't that good.
These are limited as well. These aren't going to be sticking around forever, and only 200 pieces are being sold in the US right now. So we have a handful of them. You could have a handful of them too if you bought all of them, if you bought all the ones we had. I mean, it's really cool. Is it going to give you better cutting performance than the standard number 10? In terms of edge retention, probably. But in terms of pure sliciness, probably not. The standard version is a thinner, full flat grind, or technically, I guess they're ever so slightly convex, but this one is still a thin blade. It's still going to slice well, but That's very cool. Next up, we have another laminated steel blade with the North Mountain Blades Echo, a new version of this knife, and this is not a Hamon. Let me reiterate that again. I said that in a previous video. I can see why some people sort of think it looks like a Hamon, but in the both cases with this Opinel and this North Mountain, but more apparently on the North Mountain. What you've got going on here is you've got the core blade steel with the outer layers. That is what gives you this definitive line between the two. But then they've come in and kind of buffed the bottom edge portion of the blade. So you've got almost a mirror polish going on here, which gives you a less distinct transition between what it looks like at the edge and what it looks like at the spine. And that sort of blurs the lines a little bit and looks a little more like a traditional Hamon would, which is, clay is wrapped around the spine when the knife is heated for heat treatment, and when it is quenched, I should say. So you get that distinction that way. That's not quite what's going on here. It's still a laminated steel blade. It's just been fancified a little bit more than usual. SLD Magic is the blade. It is a high carbon tool steel, or a high hardness tool steel as well. Tough enough, not stainless, but high performing edge on that blade. $200 for this knife. You get the red and black ceramic carbon fiber. You get a titanium frame lock on the back with a milled pocket clip. You get great action and great fit and finish overall. 3.5-inch blade. It's my favorite blade shape.
Welcome to Reverse Tanto Land.
It says sheep's foot on the website, but it's, you could call it a reverse tanto if you want. Didn't make it far into the video before I grumble about the reverse tanto, the naming convention. So the blade itself is 3.5 inches long, so you get plenty of utility out of it. You could call it a reverse tanto, and actually what I want to call this is a faux-moan. I want to call it that because Thomas said it a minute ago and I really liked it, so I'm appropriating it.
Gee.
At least I credited where credited was due.
Yeah, after I gave you the look.
It was gonna do it anyway. Cool utilitarian blade right here. Nice and acute at the tip. Check out how nice and narrow that is. So you can get some good piercing done and some good powerful cutting done. Fills the hand nicely enough for that sort of thing. Another reverse tanto, although we're calling it modified sheep's foot on the website. I wouldn't even call this a modified sheep's foot, quite honestly. But this is the Jack Wolf Knives Collusion, a collaboration with Jacob Ginsberg, and it is my favorite genre of fixed blade these days. That is the pocket fixed blade. Here you go, leather pocket sheath with a pocket clip here. Could be used on the belt if you wish. It's a decent enough design for outside the belt carry or inside the waistband carry. This is one of the versions, the red abalone, but there's also titanium, linen micarta, like a denim linen micarta, and a Curanite option, purple and black, and a few different blade finishes to go with. Very cool. 3.14 inches on the blade, S90V for the blade steel. So again, great edge retention, hollow grind on this stainless blade, giving you an even more acute tip than on that North Mountain we just looked at. Fingers on the handle, I get about three and a half really, and the other half of that fourth finger grip is provided by the small fob with the bead there, which is always a nice touch and a nice way to kind of increase the length of the handle without actually increasing the length of the handle. And it does allow you to get some interesting grips that you can't really do without this type of thing. For instance, I grab the knots with your pinky and a little bit of your ring finger, and you can point this down like so and have extra security than you would if you were just gripping it like that without the fob. It's a cool little thing. If you haven't tried it before, you should check it out. $235 on this particular version. Let me check prices on all of those. It looks like they are all $235 right now. Or not right now. These come out tomorrow, at least if you're watching this video on the day that it posts. These are going live on the Friday after. As is this next series of knives, the Finch Knife Company Oxbow. This one is starting at $145. I say that, what are these ones are also $145 all around. There are 3 different versions of the knife. And we've got another, actually in this case, I'm calling that a sheep's foot blade. I don't even have to call it modified, really, because you got a straight edge going on. Very nice. 3 inches, N690 steel, solid stainless performance. I put it somewhere in a similar strata to something like VG10. The handles here are brass for the brass lovers out there. That is a nice new option for you, and it looks great with all of the black hardware and the black stone-washed blade, of course. Milled pocket clip, ball bearings in the pivot with a liner lock, and the flipper tab, which flippers it out very nicely. Yeah, I like it. We've also got more traditional opening methods hinted or nodded at with the nail nick on the blade, and that is a nail nick on either side as well. Makes it very easy and natural to open with 2 hands, as you could see right there. The brass on this version gives this one a little bit more weight than the other versions you can get, which includes an abalone as well, not a red abalone, but an abalone nonetheless, and a Kieranite looking handle, although I don't think it's Kieranite brand because we're just calling it deep blue resin. Similar stuff going on to the Jackwolf right there. Very interesting. Yeah? Is that, do I smell collusion? No, it's just this knife. I don't care if no one laughs at that, it amused me, and so I hope Thomas leaves that in.
Maybe. We keep reverse Tanto land.
Fine, dude. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Next up, we've got some updates on some kind of classic knives. The first is probably the biggest news, and that is from Buck. And Buck Traditionals have seen an update. The 300 series has sort of been like revamped, retooled, and like almost soft relaunched with several new versions of their 300 series Stockman and 300 series Cadet. 3-blade slip joint models, all made in the USA. Let's start with the Stockman. This is a Granadillo wood version right here. Differences that I could spot based on looking at pictures of the old versions, they have swapped the position of the sheep's foot and the spay blade, although that's, we could still call that a spay.
Or reverse Tanto.
No, this is not a reverse. I knew you were gonna say this. This is spay. This is spay.
Spay it, ain't so.
I will spay it all day long. Prices on these. The least expensive new Cadet comes in about $70, and the most expensive Stockman, which is the larger version, tops out at about $90. There are some resin-handled options, as well as ebony and the Granadillo wood right here. Action is nice and smooth, no half stop on these, just nice, smooth overall. We've got Buck's 420HC. I'm assuming it's getting their Paul Boss heat treatment, which famously allows them to get way more performance out of this steel than pretty much anyone else who uses the steel, making it perform better than you might think for given its otherwise fairly normal stainless steel going on right there. But anyway, that is the Stockman. It's a 3.35-inch closed length. The Cadet is a, sorry, no, that's a 4-inch closed length. The Cadet is a 3.35-inch closed length. And it is also basically a Stockman right here. You've got the standard main blade, you've got the sheep's foot blade, and you've got, yeah, that's a spay, but that's almost a reverse Tanto.
Good job.
As some might say. It's almost as reverse Tanto-y as the knife that coined the term reverse Tanto, the 940 Osborne, which we'll get to in just a second. There's a reason I put those two next to each other on the table. This is the blue synthetic. There's also a gray synthetic. Take your pick. Really cool to see them reinvesting and kind of reinvigorating this line of USA-made slip joints. Obviously, it's not the cheapest Buck Stockmans out there, or the cheapest Stockmans out there, but the quality is quite nice, and it's some of the better priced USA-made Stockmans, I would say. I haven't fully checked cases, the case competition in terms of price, but I think it's pretty similar when you base it on similar materials anyway. If I'm wrong,
comment.
So be it. Comment below. So be it, and I apologize. All right, launching earlier this week, we have the 940-04 and the 945 04. It is the classic Osborne and mini Osborne folders, new versions of this featuring denim micarta handles and M390 for the blade steel. So very high edge retention, not as high of a toughness factor as something like MagnaCut, which is available in the 940 range at this point, but edge retention, that's what you get your M390 for. Probably not gonna last as long as an S90V blade, however. That should have a little bit more edge retention still. $280 for the mini Osborne and $290 for the full size. And that's a difference of a 2.92 inch blade versus about a, let me give you the exact, since I gave you the exact here, 3.4 inch blade on the full sized version. And yes, this is the knife that kind of gave rise or coined the term reverse tanto with its fairly spay looking blade, I would say. Why do I fully maintain beyond just apparently how it looks? That it is a spay blade. Warren Osborne, the designer of this knife, in addition to being a custom knife maker, was a rancher, and he had to spay his cattle, probably, or may find himself in such a situation. I don't know what he got into in his spare time, after all.
All it tells me is reverse tanto land better have a petting zoo.
I'm disturbed. We have the axis lock, giving you that excellent smooth crossbar locking action. Washers in the pivot there, keeping things nice and tight. Floating back spacer there with matching copper color, or kind of coppery brassy colors coordinating with the pocket clip and the thumb studs, kind of completing that blue jean vibe overall. Very, very cool. I mean, like previous versions of the 940 have kind of been a little more fancy than this. This really kind of takes it back to like a more rugged, like ranch version, maybe. Maybe. One more classic update here. We have the Spyderco Police. Now, Spyderco has released the Police 4, which is about the same size, but has a little bit of a broader blade and their guarded finger choil. But they've been continuing to produce the classic Police alongside it. And this is the first time we've seen this iteration of the classic Police. Full flat grind. That's the main difference here. Standard versions of the Police have a saber grind that I believe are hollow, not flat, but this has a full flat, giving you a more kind of modern Spyderco slicey feel to it, which I think is very interesting. $285, made in Japan with the black stainless steel handles. Everything here black, in fact. VG10 steel, 4.2 inches in length. Plenty of reach for longer slices, although the Police 4 does have a more pronounced belly, which might be better for true slicing overall. But this gives you, a little bit more of a nimble handling knife. Ironic I said that, given I almost just dropped it there.
Agility 5, Dexterity 1.
Hey, there you go. That explains it. Mid-mounted lockback with the boy dent. That not only helps you find the lock a little bit easier if you're not looking, it also helps prevent it from, or mitigate the chances of it being accidentally pressed if you're squeezing really hard on the knife, because you don't want to, the knife to disengage when you're really using it. 4-position pocket clip. Yes, we still have the plastic on this back side. It's a little harder to take it off underneath the clip, so didn't bother with that for the video. Nice and slim to carry in the pocket, so it doesn't require too much bulk to actually carry it. It does have a little bit of weight, however, 5.4 ounces for its size. It's the Police. It's just slicier. Let's keep it tactical for a couple more. We have Skallywag Tactical. This is their MDV +1, another pocket fixed blade, coming in at about $150. And this is less convenient for like standard use. It does come with a pocket sheath, although it's probably less practical for all the time use compared to something like that Jack Wolf that we looked at earlier. That's because this is a rapid deploy Kydex sheath mechanism system design.
Device.
We've got this hook in the blade right here, meaning you go in to grab the knife, pull it out, and hopefully you're practiced enough to get this to catch on the hem of your pocket so it stays put or even falls to the wayside, and you've got your blade ready to go. Standard hold would of course be in this inverted grip. You've got this prominent retention hook on the back. D2 blade is about 3¼ inches long, recurve for extra length within that blade length. And interestingly, chisel ground, as you can see. As a feature that we see, I think Emerson is probably Probably definitely responsible for that being a grind we see a lot on tactical blades. He always espoused the strength of that type of grind. I like the gold color, but other colors, black is available, even though black's not a color. You know what I'm talking about, some people. PVD coating in any case on all of them to help keep rust at bay, because D2 is of course only semi-stainless, but does offer you a good amount of edge retention for sure. In terms of the length here within, folks know I do have slightly larger than average hands, and I'm just barely in there. I'm feeling like a little tiny bit cramped. Yeah, I could maybe do with an extra, like, I'm talking like 1/8 of an inch of space maybe. Your mileage may vary, of course. Next up from Skallywag, we have the Shadow Beard. I'm not even sure what kind of connotation that's trying to call up.
I think 5 o'clock shadow.
Shadow Beard, though? Shadow Beard. But is that a good thing? I guess it's rugged.
I'm thinking of shadow bread now.
It means you take care of yourself, but you're still rugged, I guess. Okay. That works, I guess.
We'll go with that.
3.4-inch blade here as well. D2 PVD finish. Actually, it says PVD, but it's probably, I guess it's possible to stone wash a PVD. So you've got kind of like a black stone wash finish going on here. With,
ta-da.
Okay, our website is wrong here. They call this a drop point blade, and that is not a drop point. We've got a saber height flat grind here. Fairly acute, actually very acute tip. Strong geometry there, but not so thick that it kind of negates decent slicing efficiency when you need to actually cut something that's more mundane. On the front, we have G10 with carbon fiber. On the back, we have stainless steel for the frame lock. Over travel stud right here, actually. It's not, I guess you could say it's a disc, but it's not quite like that Hinderer style disc right there. But that's a nice thing there to keep the frame lock from being pushed out too far, of course. Ball bearings in the pivot. Flipping action is quite good. Feeling the hand is pretty nice. You've got plenty of finger guard there if you're using this tactically, of course. Which with a brand like Skallywag Tactical, makes sense. $165 is the price for this knife. Next up, I guess another update on a classic. Is the Livewire a classic from Kershaw? Maybe not yet, but I think it's going to be, based on how many they're making and how successful it is. But no matter, this is a new G10 version of the knife, which is the first of the G10, or is the first version I have seen that's not an aluminum or carbon fiber front. We still have aluminum for the chassis, but the cover got G10, and it's a cool red here, which always, of course, balances really nicely with the black hardware going on. Coming in at about $240 here. $239.95. So just a little bit more than the least expensive aluminum versions, but I like the texture on this a little bit nicer than some of those versions here. Feels really good. Magna cut for the blade steel, which is about 3.3 inches long with the spear point shape here, full flat grind. Very acute tip. The extra toughness that Magna cut brings to the table is going to be appreciated there. And with the thin geometry of the blade here, it's actually going to slice really well, and you can take advantage of the high edge retention that Magna cut brings to the table. Really nice. The pocket clip here is angled, and it is reversible for either side. May look a little funky, but it works perfectly fine. The action, also quite good. Smooth, doesn't break your finger to open or close it, but it feels amazingly solid. If you haven't felt a live wire yet, why not this one?
Live wire knife, not a live wire.
Yes. Public safety announcement from Thomas. Thank you very much. Next up, we have some updates to, maybe not classics yet, but some nice models. We have The Strategy from Ocaso Knives with a red aluminum handle, and now with a black as well as a satin finished blade with this finish. $157.50 for the black and $148.50 for the satin. The black looks really cool though, doesn't it? 3.5-inch blade, straight clip point shape with K110 steel, which is a name brand D2 done very well. And I've really liked this braid profile. blade profile ever since it was introduced. I like the straight clip point here. I like the amount of belly for just all around use. It's obviously a little more tactical than most of the Ocaso knives offerings, but it's still very useful in a broad range of uses. We got a liner lock. We got ball bearings in the pivot, and we got a flipper. Recipe for success right there. We've also got a deep carry pocket clip that is opposite side mounted. So if you're carrying it on the right side, you're actually screwing in to the left side, or what would normally be the left side clip carry option. That allows the clip itself to behave as like the filler plate for the pocketed section provided for that pocket clip, which is pretty cool. Helps it keep a nice, clean aesthetic overall. Next up, we have the Solstice. New versions of this. This one is scroll engraved titanium for the handle, and it is very, very nice. This is obviously a slightly larger knife for an executive style knife, which it is an executive style knife. Check out the profile folded. Very narrow, blade almost completely disappears. Subtle, maybe not super subtle, but a small flipper tab. Give you really nice action overall. Blade 3.5, S35 VN, full flat grind. Not crazy thin, so it's not a crazy efficient or a like scalpel-like slicer. It is a little bit on the thicker side in general, but overall the aesthetic is very, very refined. Deep carry pocket clip maintaining that same thing, wrapping around and being mounted from the quote-unquote front side for standard right side carry, and a few different versions with engraving work available right now on the website. This is only one of them. Price on this, $220 and some change. All right, we're leaving we're leaving the fanciest stuff for last. I can't even say leaving the most expensive stuff for last, because I think that, that Opinel is the most expensive thing on the table today. Never be able to say that again.
Not unless there's very specific circumstances.
Indeed. The Summit from Maserin. Space Coral Copper Fat Carbon is the handle material. The blade is MagnaCut. The price is $198, just under $198. I really like the drop point shape here. It's going to be useful for a lot of different uses, and it's thin enough to slice really nicely. And again, with MagnaCut, you've got that stainlessness in addition to edge retention and toughness, which can support a thinner edge like this without, becoming frail. Handle is nice and big too. Yes, it's fancier, but it feels like a real working knife. I've got plenty of length to grip this handle quite effectively. We've got a tail-mounted deep carry pocket clip here to keep things subtle, and we've got a button lock for security, and it's nice and buried too, so it's little chance of accidentally disengaging that during harder use. That's always something you have to be aware of with a button lock, so I like how kind of deep this one is. Now, opening, you do have to press the button lock. It is locked into the closed position right there. So that's more secure if you're, having it packed in a bag or something like that. Just keep aware of that. If that is a feature that bothers you, you don't see it as much these days. So I don't want you to be kind of caught by surprise. Very cool profile overall, however. Next we have the Remette Saker. And this has also got button locking capability, but they've also done their own thing to keep it, safer, shall we say. $285 for this. Few different inlay options are available. This is black and purple fat carbon. We've got entropic anodized pivot collars front and back. And here's your first clue that something's going on. Wait, this looks like a frame lock. Didn't you say it was a button lock? Why, yes, I did. It is a button actuated frame lock. See? And it is the pivot that is the button there on the front. That is a very cool thing. Not quite like the, the Peregrine that I really liked, that had a button on the front next to the pivot that operated the frame lock. This time it is the pivot itself. And lest you worry that during hard use you might bump that and disengage the frame lock, secondary safety right here on the back. There we go. Which basically moves a tab of steel over, preventing the frame lock from moving. So you can push this all you want. Not gonna have to worry about that moving unless it moves. You know what I'm talking about, right? But you get that finger safe closing action as a result on this knife and the Maserin we just looked at. You've got a crisp flipping action on this knife as well, which is something that frame and liner locks especially excel at. So you get the convenience of a button lock and the finger safe closing action of a button lock with the feel of a nice crisply detented frame lock flipper right here.
The baffle. Button actuated frame lock.
You may be onto something.
You keep lining them up. I'll knock them down.
You may be onto something here. Credit where credit's due, man. Don't spend it all your credit in one place. You've been getting a lot of it this video. 3-inch blade, M390 steel, Tonto with a compound grind, hollow at the back, flat at the front, not too thick or thin, so you've got a good all-around usable geometry and good edge retention from the M390 as well. Milled pocket clip, hidden lanyard post at the back. Overall, just really, really cool. And on the face of it, you don't automatically notice kind of the fancy features. In fact, I didn't. I put it on the table, was like, oh, cool, fancy frame lock from Remette, and then just set it down. And it wasn't until I picked it up and tried to start talking about it on video where I was like, oh, shoot, there's a button. And then Thomas is the one, to give him more credit, that pointed out to me that it was the button actuated frame lock. I hadn't even picked up on that.
All I did was pick it up.
I got a lot on my plate these days, what can I say? Including a Roxxon Flex multi-tool. If you saw our short we posted earlier this week, that was on a plate.
Side plate.
Indeed. That's all we got time for today, folks. Let me know what you thought of the knives in the comments. And if you want to get your hands on any of these, check out the links in the description, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program or our Sezzle payment options at checkout if you want to break up some of these more expensive knives into more manageable payment chunks. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we're signing off. See you next time.